Welcome. I'm here with Pouroto Ngaropo, a Tohanga, spiritual leader, chairman of the Iramoko Marae, Titawera, Ngati Awa, Kiti Awa, Oti Atua. Such an honor to be here with you, my friend. Thank you for making the time. We're here to talk about some really powerful, deep things, I feel. And you have a unique voice in this beautiful country that we're in at this time around these issues. So we've had some chats, and I think it's really important to start with just how we met, and that was around what's happening on Oairaka with the trees. So that was exactly 6 months ago yesterday. And during that time, you know, most of Australia has been on fire. We've had a 1 in 1,000 year drought, and we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So we're here to talk about the importance of those trees, but in general, the symbolism that's implicit in this issue. So welcome, Pouroto. Thank you for being here.
Kia ora. Thank you, Samar. So I'd like to welcome everyone that's connected spiritually and also in mind, body and soul with the opportunity for us to share in this space, in this time, this location, in the now is all time. So this is a chant that I'm going to chant to commence and to call upon the energy of creation to come forth and be part of the energy as we share with each and every one of us today. Mai e te tipua, mai e te tawhito, mai e te kahui o ngā riki, mai e te whiwhi atu ki ngā tua. Oi, kataki nā te Māori, ko te Māori ahua no mai. Ki runga ki wenei taura, ki runga ki wenei tawira. Te atau te Māori ki runga ki wenei tamahe toko nono, te whai oro oro tāne te waiora. Tēnei te matatau ki aeke whakatū tārewa ki te rangi. Uhi, wero, tau mai te Māori, o haumi e ui e ki e. Let the energy come forth from the universe above. Let the energy come forth from the earth below. Let all the energies of the environment be one energy, one power source. Let it be placed in front of the creator of all things. Let it be bound above and below. Let the spiritual energy of both day and night, night and day. Let the energy and spiritually sort of the physical and the spiritual worlds be one as we move forward today at this moment in time. And the now is all time, mā te wā. We ask that the energy of creation, creator Io, the spirit, the parent of all things, guide us, protect us, and move together as we share some of the important things that we face today as peoples throughout the world. Whānau, whānau, haramai te toki, bind this energy together. Haumie, bring it together. Ui, let it be assembled as one energy. Tai ki e, and it is done. So, Samar, there's some really important issues that are impacting on the spiritual well-being of the world, of the people, of the land, of everything around us. And I had the opportunity, actually the spiritual energy of our ancestor, Wairakaraka. Wairaka means the shimmering waters, the life-giving waters, the ancestor who lived on Mount Albert 800 years ago. 6 months ago, we, as a hapu, as a family, were down at Unitec, not far from Mount Albert and between Point Chev, you know, cleaning one of the ancient springs that Wairaka had formed, which is called the Waiunua Wairaka, the long drinking waters of Wairaka. We were cleaning her from the source and also to the outlet, rejuvenating our connection back to her through the stream. And she called out to us. And, we were very fortunate to go to her par site, her home, her village, her place where she lived at Mount Albert. And that's when we met Samar and the family, as part of our family, on the Maunga. And so the energy spiritually, she drew us towards Mount Albert or Wairaka to meet Usama, to meet all the rest of the other family part of the Honour of the Maunga. Why? Because the state of the way in which the forest, or the trees, the birds, and the insects on this mountain is being put to test, really, in terms of, shall we keep the state of Mount Albert as it is, and it should be remained as it is. The power source there is clear, the vibrational energy is clear, the birds and the insects, the whole life force and the ecosystems are in place. They're in a state of mauri tau. They're in a state of balance, a state of taumataho. So the Wairaka was calling us out to make sure that any other future plans, which really have been driven by expectations of, say, for example, the Auckland City Council in partnership with the Tupuna Authority, are wanting to take and remove these trees that have been there for so long. So that's Wairaka's spiritual calling to us to come together. And our position is still the same as it was then 6 months ago, Samar, that she is alive and well. Her spirit is there. Her energy is there. The trees are well. The insects and the life forms that are there, you know, they're so alive and well. They're connected to everything around there, with the community, with the people, with the mountain. And so they are in a state of mauri, or the life force there is in a high level of spiritual consciousness, in terms of being directly in contact, both here in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual domain. Also, there's because of that peace, that tranquility, and that love that you can feel when you step onto the moment, there's a direct connection to the source. So Wairaka called out to us, and we came together, and that relationship has been a really exciting for me, because it's good to meet people that are of the same sort of vibrational energy.
Thank you, Pouroto. Yes, when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking of so many things. And one of them is, as you know, and I think as many people who are going to watch this know, there's been a lot of backlash, a lot of accusations of racism and cultural insensitivity. And I can understand why, because the kind of the basic story is that, you know, we've shown up as all these people who aren't necessarily descendants of the land, and we're demanding to keep something there that people refer to as colonial relics. And so I've had a conversation just last week where I was called a neo-colonist, which I thought was kind of ironic and funny, considering I also come from Indigenous people that were colonized. But I'm also trying to have empathy for that perspective, while having the courage and compassion, all of us, to speak to it and say, how is a living thing a relic of colonization, just because of where it came from? And how is it possible to destroy something? When you speak of the Mauri, when you speak of the life force of that living place, how would causing so much harm fix anything? And I think I just really want to honor you for your courage, because, you know, I come from a traditional culture too, where speaking out is really unsafe emotionally and reputationally and energetically, and you've done it. Like, you're standing for the sentience of the living world, regardless of what anyone says. So just curious what you feel about that.
Firstly, Wairaka, when you look at her name, yes, she's of Maori descent, yes, she's of Polynesian descent. But Wairaka is also an ancestor that within her name, you know, the shimmering of waters, the waters of life. So when I sense and I feel a connectedness, yes, I know that I am a descendant of Wairaka, but in her whole being, in life, what she achieved, what she did. It's quite interesting that she was a person that looked after and protected people. She was a person that recognized the importance of nature. And that's why her father and her toroa, this is an exotic tree. This is another issue. Where from Rarotonga and Mauke on board the waka of Mātātua, which is my primary waka, my primary canoe, brought the karaka tree over to Aotearoa. And they planted the tree on top of Mount Albert. Mount Albert was originally known as Te Pā o Ruarangi. So it has a really ancient connection to sentient beings, spiritual life forms and life forces that are there before human people even occupied the area. I think that's one thing that's important with Wairaka. She planted the tree as a symbol of connectedness to the land, to the people, to the environment, and also as a connection of the past, present, and the future. I think that there's been a whole misunderstanding of, people have the right to voice opinions if they see, the natural world in which we're living in is being deliberately harmed. Because look, if we Wairaka and the essence of her is wahine. So a lot of the energy, yes, she's my direct ancestor. Wairaka begat Avonianangi, who had Motangiawa, who had Peke, who had the Halfa Faru, who begat the Kuranangi, who had Tamaraka Eora, who had the Tumwana, who had Hida Moko. So from there, they had the Haupuangiangi, the Nama Pukura Pino, he te Wairereahi, Hineira Apakura Wate, the Katarina Rota, and then Dad and me. So that's a direct descent line that I have to Wairaka. I am a descendant of her. But her whole life was dedicated to be a person to look after and protect people in terms of their connections and relationships. I mean, she traveled on the Mātātua waka. So we have many different cultures like yourself that have traveled from many parts of the globe, like Wairaka, to come over and be here. The Treaty of Waitangi was signed by my people on the 16th of June, 1840, which enabled the partnership to happen, a co-governance for us to work together. And in this context, the theme is not about culture or race. It's about, are we at a level of high subconscious vibration that we are protecting the natural environment in terms of where we are, and that space and location is at Mount Albert. So there are plans in terms of not being from a spiritual vibrational level to remove ancient trees who talk, who walk, who live. I mean, to me, everything comes from the earth. Everything is a child of Earth Mother. We know our place, and so that's why I've come in as a descendant of Wairaka. Actually, the spirit of Wairaka guided me there. So this is not, something that happens is not by chance. It's a divine intervention spiritually. I know that the source of Wairaka connected me to be with special people like you, Samar, and others of our family, because I'm talking of the universal family. I'm going beyond just mum, dad, kids, whānau hapu. I'm going in terms of the children of Earth Mother. And a lot of people, because of colonization, have been detached and disconnected from that high level of connectedness. And that's where we don't have to explain these things. Those of us who walk and move in the spiritual, it's an understanding, it's a connection that we know. And this is not about race, this is not about culture. This is not about disrespecting mana whenua or people. How can we stand to know that, ancient trees are going to be torn out, and that's going to have a detrimental impact on the mountains, going to have a detrimental impact on the bird life. They are our tuakana. They were created before us. They're a direct source in line to create a god, what we call Io Matua. The spirit of the mountain is the same as the spirit of the trees. The spirit of Wairaka is the same as the spirit as us, whether we're connected in bloodline to her or not. But we are all linked to each other in terms of the spiritual connection of the universal children of Earth Mother.
Pouroto, I'm hearing something really powerful in what you're saying. And I think that it's a flip or a shift in perspective that maybe a lot of people don't have. What you were saying, the way I heard it, is that the periods of colonization, and they've happened all through history to every single one of us in different ways, regardless of our skin color, regardless of where we come from, where there's been a superimposition of a more industrial or militaristic way of life over an earth-based way of life. It's taken people away from their connection. So to define being colonized as being separated from the mother, as being separated from a life that is infused with an understanding of our place in a circle, would suggest that the medicine in this scenario and in others is to come back into relationship. And what's being offered to the young people right now and the wounded people right now, because there's a lot of wounding. When there's anger, there's pain. It seems like what's being offered as the means to decolonize is more destruction and more projects where the rich people get richer. But there's so much pain. And it's almost like, to hear it from you, to hear it from an elder, there's a lot of hope there, because I feel the same as you. Like, I don't belong to one culture. I had to suspend that very early in my life, and my family was whatever nature was wherever I lived. And I've lived, my ancestral lands have been desecrated due to, just commercialization that has made my father's people very wealthy, but cut them off from a connection. And I see some parallels here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's what have we as humans lost in terms of, the big question simply, well, who are you? I'm asking that generally to everybody. Are we just in existence in the human world to go to work, pay the bills, have a family, and then die? I think, generally, if you think of that's the purpose of life, it's just, man, we've got some really, really deep thinking to really start to sort of explore. Because I say this generally, with Wairaka and the position that Ona the Maunga and others have taken, that is a role that tangata whenua also need to be exercising in terms of their mana, to the connection to the land. They're not doing that in the context of, one, ensuring that, when we engage with the land, that we engage with the spiritual. When we engage with the land, we engage with our people, but it also talks about engaging with everybody that is connected and that has an understanding of that vibrational energy. No one can put another person's energy, their mode or their life force, into a place of disconnectedness or disempowerment. So I'm actually very proud that we've had people who, from spiritual point of view, we're all children of the earth. We're all children of the mountains. That's why I say, I am the mountain and the mountain is me. I am the earth and the earth is me. I am the trees and the trees are me. I am the birds and the insects and they are me. So on that premise, really, that is the most important thing right now. And I say right now is that the earth is in a whole transition of, well, actually a translation of sending out messages to us that do we understand what she's actually trying to translate and tell us. There's a whole lot of messages going out, you know, from the beginning of time, to sky and earth, to our ancestors, to us. Before capitalism, there was always a balance and an understanding and a connectedness to all things. That everything had order, everything had a place, everything had a purpose. That's what I'm saying. Do we know who we are and where we come from? Because our primary role, in my view, in terms of the land and the environment, is to be a guardian, to look after and protect the world in which we live while we are here. Yes, we have our own connections to where we come from, our tūranga waiwai, our place of identity. But like many of our ancestors too, I need to remind our people, you know, we originally migrated, according to our traditions of Te Tāwera, from Rangi Tatau. So there's the Hawaii Pāmamau, which is the distant homeland. Before we got here, we too were somewhere else. And our ancestors came from Rangi Tatau and migrated across to Egypt, to Africa, to Peru, to India. This is sort of according to my traditions of my people. To India, to Taiwan, you know, to China, Hong Kong, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, and then into past Australia and to Pacific. So before, you know, we start saying, well, you know, who belongs and who doesn't, let's always remind ourselves, who are you? In terms of where did I come from before I came here? You know, our ancestor Wairaka is part of a genealogy of people that came here before even she did. Yeah, the spiritual beings, the Patupaerehe, all the Tutu Mayo. Then there came the tribes of Maui and the tribes of Toi, and then, you know, Wairaka and her father and others arrived, the migration of the Waka. So I'm always conscious about who I am. And when I say something, then I've got to be also careful about what I say, because I also know where I originally came from before I came to be part of the history that connects me now to Te Pāruarangi. Then it became the home or the Pā Wairaka, Te Ahi Kā Wairaka, and then over time, Mount Albert. So there's been a huge disconnection. And I wanted to say that this connection is important for us to connect back to where we come from, to connect back in terms of who we are. The land is calling out to us. The land where we as humans generally, across the world, and all of us to take responsibility for this, have placed capitalism first. It's all about, I own something. It's mine. The earth, how can we own Mother Earth?
You don't. You
And
don't.
that's, yeah, that. You know, there's three sort of ideas when I look at it in this modern day context. You know, I am the land and the land is me. Yeah, if you're a ratepayer, you know, I own the land because I pay for what I own, what I access in terms of resources. And then there's I purchase the land, so it's just a commodity for me to hold for this point in time so that I can live. But I know that we live in those three realities. But the most important reality is I am the land and the land is me. And that is the disconnectedness about, so where we come from, who we are. So everyone that lives in Aotearoa originally came from a source before they came here. That's what's important to really understand. You know, when I talk to you, Samar, I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to the ancestors and those that sit spiritually on your shoulders. And that's how we should be interacting with each other. When I see anyone that comes before me, they are the living descendants of their ancestors. No matter, they don't have to come from New Zealand to have that acknowledgement. It's in fact, if we believe in the circle of life, which I do, if we believe in the central sort of creation in terms of the source and the power and the energy is one source, then the universal connection. the Creator, Io Matua, has gifted us responsibilities within the culture that we carry within us. The French people look after the land of France. The Indian people, look after India. The Chinese people look after, because we don't own the land, we're only custodians of the land. Well, the Polynesian people, Io Matua, the Creator, the source and the power of all things, has given the Polynesian islands. I'm not going to say that we own them. No, we are looking after them as the guardians.
Well, we're remembering what our species is here for. So I'm aware that there'll be people who watch this who maybe these are new concepts or really out there concepts, and also that's okay, because there's an intersectionality between spirituality and ecology, and I've felt this for a very long time. I felt that until we come back into relationship, we will continue to allow the kind of desecration that has been happening the world over, until it actually matters to us, until we feel like this isn't something out there that's a resource, but it's our family. And that's what you're saying. You're saying that, sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
No, she's the mother of all mothers. And we as whānau hapu, we've been here between 2,500 to 3,000 years. It's only yesterday. It's not that long. But within that time, we have a responsibility to look after and protect Mother Earth, Papatuānuku. We are doing a good job. Capitalism has become the main drive in terms of, the land. Now people believe we own the land, rather than we are the land, and the land is us. So the connection is important, that if we continue to do the things that we're doing through pollution, in terms of the way that we live, in terms of our food is not the same as it was, in terms of the way we think is not the way that it used to be. There's no connectedness anymore in terms of the whenua, the land and the environment around us. We are in what I call the matrix. It is not the real world. It's not about money. It's not about capitalism. It's not about power and control. I mean, generally, that's where most of everyone is living in terms of society. We need to deconstruct ourselves to reconstruct. We need to disempower the matrix so that we can be re-empowered again in terms of finding out about who we are in terms of those connections. So, for example, just in support, there are four things, and the Māori word whānau is a template, as I suppose is the prototype, which determines and can give us some clues in terms of who we are. E whā ngā pū manawa nau whānau. So there are four things and births for whānau belonging to you. Belonging to you. So we know that from whānau, it's 4 generations of people, for example, our elders. See, that institution of protection of our elders has changed. The wisdom of our elders is so important in terms of our whānau connection to our extended families. So there's the elders, there's their generation, there's our parents, there's our children and the future of our grandchildren. That's the nucleus of the family. So that's important. That reconnection back to that is key. The other thing is there are 4 things we're born with that we need to rediscover and reconnect ourselves as part of the translation of what Earth Mother is saying. So recently we had 21 deaths on White Island. What is the sign there? We've had a drought, we've had fire in Australia. This COVID-19 is a huge disease and virus that is destroying and killing us. I believe they are the descendants of Maiki Nui and Maiki Roa. The virus, the Uruta, is actually being sent out by Mother Earth. That she's doing this. That she's saying, enough damage to me, enough abusing me, enough in terms of the way that pollution is killing me. Actually, the lifestyle and what we're doing in the modern day context of the matrix is killing and destroying the very world that we're actually born to look after. So the spiritual connection is a key point for us, that we need to reconnect back to our spiritual origins. The second point in the word whānau, and we need to also understand mana whenua. So mana whenua is not also about, mana whenua doesn't mean that I own land. It actually means I'm connected to that place. I am the land and the land is me. And what comes with that is the responsibility to uphold and look after the stories of where the footprints of my ancestors walked, but also the responsibility of conservation, how we apply to look after and protect that land in our time, in our generation. We hand the land on to future generations that will follow after us. So where we come from, who we are, our location and time, and where we live now, that's what mana whenua means to me. And that we need to reconnect to that energy. We need to connect to the spiritual energy, sama. And also the other two parts, the whānau, the four things that will make us a complete person, is the mana tupuna. So our connection to our ancestors is key. Who are we? The names that we carry, the DNA, the blood of the ancestors that we carry, they're upon our shoulders. We carry them wherever we go. So we need to reconnect back to our whakapapa. We need to also reconnect to our mana tangata, which is your destiny. We're not born for nothing. It's not a mistake that each of us are here. The spiritual domain is quite clear that you are a child of the universe, that you are a spiritual being, that you've been taken out of the spiritual domain and put into a physical body, because the creator and the energy, the life force of all things has a special place for you and a destiny for you to carry out while you're living here. So that if we can connect those four things together, which the disconnection has happened, as you're right, Samar, that's why if the earth is sick, if unwell, then we are sick and unwell. And then, you can still look fantastic on the physical side, but how well is your spirit? How well is your identity in terms of who you are? This is only flesh. I'm only in this flesh. It's what's behind me. It's the energy, the power source, spiritual power source I'm talking about, the ancestors that sit behind me, that walk one with me. That is what's more important than what you see in terms of the physical body. We're all worrying about what we see, but it's actually the unseen. That's what's important. So it is a disconnection. We need to reconnect. But as I said, that is what decolonization is really why it's important. All of us, there's no culture in the world can say to me that Māori, whānau hapuniwi are the only people in the world that were colonized. That is untrue. There are many cultures that have been colonized right throughout the world. So therefore, with the opportunity now, with Earth speaking out to us, this COVID-19 has given us an opportunity for me to say, the Earth Mother is very powerful. She's alive. She's an ancient ancestor. And she will do what she needs to do to protect herself. This is only the beginning. If we continue to abuse the Earth, if we don't listen to the signs of nature, if we don't protect the trees, the insects, and the birds, and the environment around us. And that's why Owairaka, Mount Alban, and what we're standing for there is so important in terms of the interconnectedness to the circle of creation, to the universal source of all things, and the circle of life.
Thank you. I really feel that. And it's just really important also to acknowledge that sometimes when I'm up there, and I'm up there every single day, it's so obvious that the mountain herself has given life to these trees from all over the world. You spoke about Peru, you spoke about Australia, you spoke about, if you walk around that mountain, there are sacred trees from around this planet. There are sacred trees that have been revered by Indigenous people the world over that live there, and are full of life and full of birds. And native birds that haven't been seen for decades in an urban environment are thriving up there. And so I've always felt, and I've always felt that it's been difficult for me to articulate this because no one's really listening, is that shouldn't she decide? If she didn't want those trees there, they wouldn't have made it. Like, shouldn't the energy and the spirit of that life and that land get to choose who she gives birth to? And I just am so appreciative of your perspective on this, in that it's not just about us, it's not just about how we feel, but we're here to help.
So the colonization for us as Maori generally, happened in 1860. Most of our whenua that we were kaitiaki over was taken 63 million acres actually in the total land mass of Aotearoa, New Zealand. So there's been a disconnection by whānau and hapu to reassert those connections, to have access to that way of life, their way of thinking in terms of accessing food from the land, from the forest, from the waterways, walking in the ancient sites of our ancestors. The whole way in which we live is, our whole being is connected to that space, to that location of who we were prior to colonization coming and disconnecting us from that. So there's been, over the generations of time, within, say, the period of 1840 to 1860, there's Māori whānau hapu niwi still held a very strong position in terms of who they were, and they were governed and looked after and managed in whānau and hapu clusters. That's where the power source, that's where the rangatira, the tohunga, the spiritual leader, the chief, and the hapu and that lived in harmony and one with the earth itself. Over time, the colonial governments came, confiscated our lands, particularly in 1860, and there was a whole shift of power in terms of, not power in terms of, I am in control, but the ability to look after and protect our culture and who we are as a people, our whole way of life, our whole way of being, our language, our cultural practices, etc., our connection to the land. And so there's been a huge 200-year period, I suppose, from the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi, where our people have tried to reassert and reclaim that mana, that right of theirs to be recognised as the indigenous people here of Aotearoa, New Zealand. During that process of 9 generations, though, many of our people have been disconnected from their own haputanga, their own iwitanga, their own cultural identity. So that's been quite an interesting journey for us as Māori, as we try to reclaim these things back. During that, though, the Treaty of Waitangi does include having co-governance, whether it be at the local level as communities, whether it be at the local, regional, and the Crown level as well. So I think that's something that's really important. Now, as we move to where we are today in this space, what's important is that even though we've been able to get a lot of these assets returned, or these parcels of land or sacred sites, or acknowledgement of what happened and what wrong the Crown did do, there has to always be one recognition of the mana whenua and the people that who originally belonged there, that space and that time of that landmark of that region or that location is important to them in terms of their identity there. But for us, as Te Tāwera too, the Treaty of Waitangi is the key governance relationship that it includes everybody. I mean, that's why our ancestors agreed 200 years ago for us to develop that relationship together. Being, in the first, the articles of the treaty are key in terms of this discussion, in terms of the Papatūānuku in terms of all Wairaka and who has the right to decide. So, we need to be cognizant that with the Treaty of Waitangi, there are 4 articles of the treaty. And when you break it down, it's quite, and it really empowers us as iwi, as hapu, as Māori, as Marae, in terms of our relationships that we have with our treaty partner, which is you, Sama, non-Māori, the Kiwi, New Zealander that are our colleagues, our whānau, friends, and also acknowledging too that we've had intermarriages as well, over that period of time. That's happened, that's real. A lot of us are Scottish, English, Irish, French, you name it. It's in our blood too that we carry those ancestors through us. So there's been an acceptance of that relationship over time. No doubt, in any culture, there's been positive experiences, and there's been some challenging experiences. That's just a human thing that happens right across the world. So, in this point in time where we are, I wanted to say that in terms of all Wairaka, I, as Te Tawera Hapu, as Ngāti Awa ki te Awa Tatua, am exercising our rights to develop a relationship that's meaningful and real. Wairaka has already spoken that she should decide that the trees, that the insects and the birds that are there are doing no harm to her mauri. That's the question I ask. As a tangata whenua, as a person that's from here, through my ancestry, is what we're doing in terms of the relationship with Ona the Maunga, is it impacting negatively to the life force of the mountain? No. Is it enhancing the life force of the mountain, in my view? As Te Tawera I Ramuku Marae Ngāti Awa ki te Awa Tatua? Yes. So there's the articles of the treaty determine how we work together. This is not a race issue to me. It's about understanding that, whether other Māori, iwi, hapu agree with me or not, under the mana of my hapu and my iwi authority and my mana, I have the right to exercise the relationship with whomever I want to. That is no one else's right in terms of the domain and the space of my ancestors, and there's thousands of them that I carry with me, including Wairaka, in terms of this space, in terms of where we are. And I'm quite confident about that. So the relationship talks about 4 important things: the partnership and how that works. And so we've defined that, how it works. Others may not agree with terms of how that works with, but that doesn't really, I'm not concerned. If it's looking after the relationship, looking after people, empowering people, respecting people, showing kindness to people, showing love and genuine work together in terms of looking after the life force of the mauri, of the maunga and the trees, then that's the vision, then that's why we're together, then that's good.
Thank you, Pouroto. When I hear you, I'm reminded of, 2 things are coming. One is, with all the teachers and the incredible elders that I've had the privilege of being in ceremonial space with from around the world, there's a theme that has been emerging in the last decade. And that's with my teacher who's passed down the Maya traditions, with a Native American teacher, with teachers in more yogic traditions. And with what you're saying, is that the future is a future of partnership. The future is a future of joined families, not separation. And when we look at global warming and we look at the threat of global warming, if we don't band together as a species, I'm not sure we're going to make it. If we don't actually remember ourselves as human, and that all of our interests are linked, and that our relationship to the living world is the most important thing, we're going to continue to do the crazy stuff we've been doing. And so you know, we just really want to honor you for that, because it's a vision you share with many elders from around the world, and it's a fundamental shift in perspective that seems like it's needed.
Yeah, moving forward together is the key. You know, I'm reminded of a song from my relations down in the Hawke's Bay. It's a simple song, but it's very powerful, very meaningful, and it's a song that everyone knows. Actually, it's and I wanted to just utilize that opportunity to mention these words. You know, tūtira mai ngā iwi, tūtira mai ngā iwi, tātou tātou e. Tūtira mai ngā iwi, tātou tātou e. Paia te maramatanga, me te aroha, e ngā iwi, kia tāpatahi, kia kotahira, tātou tātou e. So there's so many different things that our people know that unity and moving together is important. You know, tūtira mai ngā iwi, you know, no matter where you come from, bring all those strands of people together and let them file together in unity. Paia te maramatanga, let us together then seek the true path. Me te aroha, unconditional love is the most important value. Kia tapatahi, let us be unified, let us be one. Tātou tātou e, I am you and you are me. So I think that's and I can talk about a few other things as we sort of get to the end of where we are. I suppose the beginning of many opportunities that we can have. And I'm placing that there in terms of the other Indigenous wise elders, wise people, wise kaumatua, wise leaders, male, female, Indigenous peoples, people generally throughout the world who are part of this movement. And it's growing, getting very powerful, because the heartbeat of the earth is calling. Kei te tuki tuki ta manawa papatuanuku. Kei te whakaatuhia ia ngā tohu kia tatau, as I talked about the translation of the signs that she is sending to us. I mean, in this COVID space, yeah, in this COVID space, papatuanuku in terms of the virus, because it's not human made. Anything that we can't actually combat is a supernatural made influence. I wanted to make that quite clear. Mm-hmm. That anything that is not human made, yeah, is a supernatural influence from either the spiritual domain. Usually, if we also are doing things we should not do to protect ourselves, the earth will send messages out to ensure that we know exactly her feelings. She cares, she loves, she hurts. You know, she also is proud and enjoys when we do well in honoring her. But she's also very sad and very angry. You know, we do things that we should not do. So there's a huge disconnection. In the world today, no one really knows who they are. And I'm going to say this, other than those that live in the spiritual, other than those that are connected to cultural paradigms of their own belief system and live it every day. You see, this is not just in terms of the voice of the earth. This is not just about living it as a moment of time. This is not an exercise of an academic seminar in terms of the earth. This is real. You know, this is about what are we going to do in terms of creating an energy that is positive. You see, the most of the energy that's negative is about human now against human.
Yep.
And that is what Papatuanuku is saying, enough's enough. You know, we humans generally abuse each other. They criticize, they're critical. We're living mostly in the domain of what we call the ngarara, the taha ngarara, or the tangata, you know, the demons or the negative side of ourselves. We should be coming across to the positive, more positive. We're there now and then, but not all the time. And then that creates disease, it creates sickness, it creates unwellness, and then it creates battles in terms of, we've had World War One, World War Two, we've had people die, and we're having people die now. We've had over 200,000 people in COVID die.
Yeah.
Isn't that enough for us to sit up and start to really think about what is important? We've had 4.3 million people, who've been diagnosed with the virus.
Yeah, it's so powerful, Pouroto. It's really interesting looking at some of the research, and it's changing every day, and the treatments are changing every day, and no one really knows. But one of the things that they're consistently finding is certain balances within the human microbiome make more people predisposed to getting it or getting it really badly. And it's like what happens inside our bodies is a direct reflection of our history of interaction with the life forms of the earth. And so the more separate we've become from soil-based organisms, the more separate we've become from the physical living world, the more vulnerable we are to this kind of thing. And so it's really a call back always. Stuff like this is it's like a full respect and empathy for the gloves and the PPE and the hand sanitizer, and I understand why that's happening. And at the same time, it's just sitting patiently in the space where people can remember that our vulnerability is our disconnection.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's why the sort of the Treaty of Waitangi again, in terms of our disconnection. This has to be a real living connection with whānau hapu and marae. I've gone back to the whānau hapu and marae level because really the grassroots, at where we're most more connected to ourselves, to our communities and the people, is where we need to be, amongst the people, with the community, not somewhere distant away in the heavens, flying away somewhere. And we need to reconnect that, in terms of the relationship of the partnership and how we work together. That's something that we work out together. In terms of the protecting the environment, which is Article 2, really, in essence, how we look after and protect everything that was given to us to look after.
And that we are a part of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything is in the beginning of time, in the end of time. There's no beginning and there's no end. I was, I am, I will be. That's the philosophy of my ancestors. And that's the general concept of connectedness by all people. In terms of I am, I was, I will be. And in our connectedness to the environment, to the land, not only to the earth, but to galaxies and to worlds beyond this. There's a bigger picture. And so that's the second sort of part of the treaty recognizes, and I've got a saying for that. I own no land. I came in the world with nothing. I leave this world with nothing. But wherever the footprints of my ancestors have walked, I walk. Wherever the ancestors have spoken, I speak. Wherever the ancestors have told their stories, I tell their stories. Wherever the ancestors have sung their songs, I sing their waiata. And in the time that I'm here, my responsibility is to be a guardian and to protect that. My time is short in this world, therefore I do what I can to do what has been tasked for me to do. And then I depart this place, leaving hopefully a legacy for those that will follow after us. So that is in sort of the Article 2 of the treaty, looking after everything that we have, the environment. Article 3 talks about us in terms of our respect, reciprocity, compromise if we need to at times, and there sometimes we need to really sit down and look at that. It's okay to look at that. Compromising is a good thing, as long as each party have voiced their opinions, they've been heard in relation to, the Wairaka and the trees up at and the insects and the mountain and the history. There's all things that I see. The trees are interconnected to everything, that is connected to the mountain, that is connected to Wairaka, that is connected to the name, that is connected to the footprints of those ancestors that are there, that are still there, that were there, that will always be there. And the last thing is the customary rights. So the spiritual, ancestral history, and not just the history of the ancients, yeah, but it's also we make history. We in this generation are creating history every day we live, because we become the future ancestors of our descendants who will follow after us. So we are the ancestors of now.
Yes.
We carry the ancestors with us from before, but we will create a new history as a legacy for those that will follow after us. So the Treaty of Waitangi is all about that, and that's my interpretation. I don't look. I know there are many definitions, but it's at the Tāwera perspective, it's a Ngāti Awa ki te awa o te atua perspective, it's an Ira Amoko perspective, and it's a view of my tupuna for thousands of years that I carry them with me. That is the perspective, the energy, the philosophy, I suppose the epistemology of how we view and see things holistically through our worldview. And it encompasses and incorporates everything.
It feels like an invitation also for anyone who's grieving, you know, and an opportunity for a different way forward should they want it. An opportunity for a way forward, whether it's called decolonization or not, but a restoration. There's a way forward to restore that doesn't involve having to kill. There's a way forward to restore that doesn't involve having to sap away energy and lose so much. And so I'm just really grateful to you for these opportunities and these pathways that maybe people don't see yet. So thank you for being a way shower and for being here today. And is there any?
No, thank you. And you know, we are time travelers. Yeah, you know, we are in our time machine right now. The past, present, and the future. In the now is all time. So that's important about what we do, what we say, where we walk. And then I'm reminded of, just in conclusion, thank you also for the opportunity to do some of the ancient ceremonies together that we've done. And I've invited you as part of Wairaka's descendants to be part of that healing. And it is, you know, Wairaka, she has decided where and what she's doing right now in terms of the mountain. What others need to do is say to themselves and ask, what do I really know about that mountain?
Yes.
Who is she? What does it carry? Because I believe that if people are fully aware and informed of that knowledge, then that's all part of sort of, like I mentioned to you earlier, to deconstruct, to reconstructing. It's all coming down to, as we know, to reconnection back to who we truly are in terms of why we're here. And so this has been an opportunity to share. This has been an opportunity to give positive opportunity of knowledge and wisdom from not from me, from my ancestors, and also to affirm that the relationships that we have in terms of what we do at Wairaka are supported by me, our hapu, Te Tāwera, and our people of Ngāti Awa ki te awa te atua. And we know that this issue is right across Auckland in terms of how we look after and protect the trees, how we look after and protect the mountains. But it's also an issue that also is here in the Bay of Plenty. It's also an issue that's right across the North and the South Island of New Zealand. And that we can't do this on our own. That's why I've created by us an opportunity to work together so that we can ensure that the life force, I think there's three important things to me And everything that I do and everything that I say, number one is in protecting the Māori and the life force of Earth. And then that gives me the direct connection to the Creator. And everything that I do, am I upholding those four quadrants of holistic connection? That is the spiritual, manatua, mana whenua, connected to the environment, both seen and unseen, both the earth and beyond. The worlds beyond this world. Mana tupuna, and everything that I say, that I do, am I upholding? Am I bringing honor to the ancestors of before and what they did? Am I creating a legacy as an ancestor of now, because we are, of the future generations that will follow after us? And the other mana tangata, am I living in what we call the real world or not the real world? So for us, we have sort of these four worlds. There's the four worlds in one. There's Rarohenga, there's the spiritual world, there's Te Ao Ngāti Puna, there's the ancestral world, Te Ao Tūroa, or Te Ao Marama, the world in which we are and where we live right now, and then Te Ao Tūroa. When I talk about, the where we are, the now is all time, past, present, and future. So those are the things that I continually challenge myself, ask myself in terms of honoring the ancestors, the ancient ones, when we move forward into the future, looking back into the past, and creating a new opportunity that will empower and bring everlasting life to everybody.
Thank you. Pouroto, thank you so much for your generosity, for your willingness, for your huge heart, and for, stepping up as a spirit, as a soul, for this task at this time. It's exciting, and beautiful, and it's challenging.
I'm so pleased to be part of this space and this time. I'm so pleased to be in this generation. And I'd like to just close with a chant and then say thank you and look forward to being with you again. Tuta pateka vanue ai o matu anue ki te whare pu ke ngā ore huariki te whare tapu o i o tapa tu ko te Māori, ko te mana, ko te tapu tike ana atu anō, te ihi nuku no te ihi rangi, ia ke ki runga i te ahure wa tapu o i o ai. Tamara, kia ora, thank you. Kia ora tātou katoa.
Thank you.